Hello, my friend. Today's video is a time lapse of an oil painting I've been working on for several weeks. I had to cut out several sections to shorten the video. If I had shown the whole time lapse, it would have ended up being over an hour long. Enjoy the video while I talk about what inspires my work and the locations my scenery is taken from. Thank you for clicking on this video. This is a time lapse of my latest oil painting, Through the Trees, part of my latest series. If you've watched any of my other videos, you may already know that I'm obsessed with trees. They are my favorite thing to draw and paint. They are beautiful beings with a presence you can feel. When the wind rustles through their leaves or pine needles, you can almost hear their exhales of oxygen, or voices whispering just loud enough that you hear them, but you can't quite make out what they're saying. Their shade creates a haven from the burning sun. I even hug trees from time to time. Yes, I'm a tree hugger and I love trees. Last year, I started a new series called Trees of the Gila. I live on the edge of the Gila National Forest in southwest New Mexico. Most Americans think New Mexico is nothing but desert. But then again, most Americans don't know that New Mexico is even a state. The Gila Forest is a hidden gem off the beaten path. Those of us who live here are okay with that. We came here to get away from the crowds of the city. Here's a short history lesson for you. The Gila Wilderness within the National Forest was the very first designated wilderness area in the country 100 years ago. Aldo Leopold, who is famous for his book Sand County Almanac, was a conservationist and environmentalist who was instrumental in saving this area for future generations. Thank you, Aldo Leopold. The wilderness designation means that there are no roads or motorized machines. Think chainsaws. And vehicles are prohibited. The only way into the wilderness is on foot or by horse. The Gila National Forest was established even earlier in 1905. With just over 3 million acres, the Gila is the sixth largest national forest in the continental United States. In 2022, there was a huge forest fire that came within 7 miles of our home. It was nerve-wracking watching the billowing smoke and waiting to hear if we would have to evacuate. Every day, the smoke got closer and closer as it moved through the wilderness. Luckily, the fire kept to the wilderness, and the rains came in time to stop the fire before it took over several small towns on the edge of the forest. It was the second largest fire in New Mexico history, burning over 300,000 acres. The Black Fire burned in the Aldo Leopold Wilderness just east of us. This tree series celebrates the 100th anniversary of this amazing place. The Black Range of the Gila is the view outside my studio window. My husband and I have spent countless hours and miles hiking and camping here and enjoying the intense solitude. Most days when we go out on just about any trail, we don't see another soul. We both grew up in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and spent our childhoods hiking, camping, and even spelunking here. If you don't know what spelunking is, it is the act, or the activity, I guess, of going into caves. New Mexico has a lot of caves, and the Gila has several that are just amazing. My husband's family used to make the 2-hour drive to cut their Christmas trees. We always wanted to live here and used to drive through the Mimbres Valley, wondering how we could make it happen. We always wondered what people did for a living to be able to live here. Now, granted, there's a lot of people that retire here, so they don't have to work. In 2018, my husband found a teaching job, and we happily made the move from Albuquerque to the peace and quiet of our home. It's like we finally came back to the home of our heart. Sometimes I get the feeling I've lived here before, perhaps in a previous lifetime. I don't know. We've run into deer, elk, bear, and once or twice we've seen the tracks of an elusive mountain lion. It's said that if you see a mountain lion, chances are good that you are about to be attacked. They stay hidden most of the time and steer clear of humans unless they're very hungry. One day we went out for a hike after a snowstorm covered the trail. On the way up, we were the first footprints in the fresh snow. Hiking in the snow is so interesting, as you can see the footprints of many wild animals, rabbits, squirrels, all kinds of things, snakes, and of course, mountain lions. On this day, on our way back down the trail, we saw the footprints of a mountain lion. He had walked for a while in our footprints, following us. He eventually split from the trail and disappeared into the forest. Let's just say we practiced what's called situational awareness for the rest of the hike, stopping every so often to look around and listen for sounds around us. It was a little bit scary thinking that there was a mountain lion out there stalking us. This painting in this video was inspired by a view of a burn scar left from the Black Fire. This past summer, we went camping in a place called Black Canyon. The fire started very close to the canyon and went south and east from there. We had waited 2 years to go out there because we were kind of afraid to see the burn area. But we were pleasantly surprised to see that the fire wasn't really intense in that area. Though there were several burn scars, the majority of the canyon was spared. We went for a hike on the Black Canyon Trail and came across several groves of trees that had burned. I see a few positive things about a fire like this. First off, it burned a lot of the deadfall and debris that had built up on the forest floor. After 100 years of fire suppression, there is a lot of built-up fuel for the fires. Thank goodness we've now learned that the forest needs fire to keep it healthy. Prescribed burns are a common occurrence that help keep homes and other property safe from future fires. Another positive for me personally is that a grove of burned trees open up the view for miles behind them. There are parts of the woods we never see because of the dense forest. This painting is titled Through the Trees for that reason. Even with the positives, I try to look at the good side of everything. The sight of acres and acres of burn scar can be extremely sad. I get so emotional about it. It's like the trees are part of my family and I've just lost so many of them. It makes me so sad. Especially when the fires started thanks to the carelessness of humans. The Black Fire was started by a human, but many of the other fires are started by lightning strikes, which is more often than not. When they're started by lightning strikes, I feel like it's nature's way of taking care of the forest, so it doesn't upset me quite as much. Anyway, back to my tree infatuation and inspiration. I've always felt like the trees are the guardians of the forest. We recently rewatched the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Actually, my husband watched it, and I mostly slept through it. But one of my favorite parts is where the trees come to life and help Frodo get where he needs to go. This is how I see trees. Like they could come to life and start walking around anytime. Trees tease all of the senses. The look of their branches, leaves, pine needles, and bark. The smell of pine and rotting leaves under the canopy of shade. The wind in the trees that sound like freight train or even running water or rain at times. The feel of the bark texture, rough or smooth, depending on the species. The taste of fresh piñon nuts that fall from the trees within their pine cones. When I was younger, I loved to climb trees to see the view for miles around. Trees are home to so many animals, squirrels, birds, bugs, and so much more. Without trees, there would be no oxygen for us to breathe. They clean the air and keep the soil from eroding. Trees live long lives. Some of the juniper trees in the Gila have seen up to 1,200 years of life. I often think of all they've seen in their lives, the forest fires they've survived, the floods and the droughts, the battles between the Apache and Buffalo soldiers in the 19th century, the settlers with high hopes moving west to start a new and better life, the prospectors hoping to strike it rich. Luckily, after 100 years of protection, they are still there, watching over the land, the animals, and sometimes the people who hike and appreciate their beauty. Trees are beautiful, and everyone is unique in its own way. I could paint trees for decades and never paint two the same. I couldn't tell you how many species of trees out there. I'm not an arborist, I'm merely a tree hugger in love with trees. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I try to post one painting video a week. If you're interested in collecting my art, you can see everything I have available on my website, paulamanninglewis.com. You can also follow the link in the description. I would love to hear your thoughts about trees. Leave me a comment below and let's start a conversation. Tell me what you love about them. Have a wonderful day, week, month, and year.